looks like we up. Uh-oh. Um, Anybody in the HAP space, I appreciate you checking in. It's gonna make sure that I got a solid signal. I came right back to the spot that I normally am in. But I think my signal got messed up yesterday, or not yesterday, earlier, because it caught something. Sometimes it'll catch a Wi-Fi. I've eaten at some of these restaurants up here, and I noticed that it linked me into the Wi-Fi, which was giving me a weak signal, which will basically, knock you off. That's why I don't like a signal. I don't want no signal from no outside source in here. I appreciate you, whoever that is that says they're listening. You're coming across as a Facebook user, so you're checking me out from the book. I appreciate that. We're going to talk about Khia Bryant because I think that I try to get the information just like anybody else should. I try to get the information for both sides because I'm automatically going to jump on the one side. But if I'm going to jump on that one side, I at least got to have the information. Sister Kim, I appreciate you. Subscribe to this half space, lady. Subscribe as many lives as you do. You need to be doing the half space. See if I can send you a referral link. Get all this going here because I see you have no problem with going live and voicing your opinion. You need to get it out there, whether it be YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, everything. I mean, I believe it's a great engine for us, and my goal is never to be anybody's tool. So it's not to be big on HAPs, big on YouTube, big on Facebook, Periscope, Twitter, nothing. It's to be big in your in your own space. You want to be independent in your own space. A lot of people don't understand that, I appreciate these different vessels, but I'd love to be able to just hit send right from my own portal. That's what the goal is. We'll talk about it. We'll definitely talk about it. But I'm looking at this probably a little differently than some others are. And then I'm looking at it right along the same lines as many people are. I don't believe that Khia Bryant should have died. I 100% believe that her life could have been saved. Now, I know they said that the girl in the pink, the woman in the pink, we now know a woman, not a baby, not a kid, because Khia was a kid. This woman was 20 plus years old. And she shouldn't have been in that space anyway. And we'll get to that in just a second. I'm trying not to get too far ahead of myself. But Khia should not have died. Khia, at worst, she should have incurred some type of injury that would have prevented her from causing damage to the lady in pink or woman in pink. I don't know how much of a lady she is, but she's a woman. And possibly, caused her death. But there was many ways that she could have been stopped without having 4 bullets put into her upper chest. I have an issue with that because police, for one, are supposed to be trained a tad bit better. Yes, there were definitely women, grown women, 2 grown women who had been foster children at the home and had timed out and had no business being around, but have been known to frequent the space. And as far as I'm hearing, they possibly have stayed there as adults. It's almost like they befriended the foster parents and they've stayed there, which is totally against the rules, where you should not be there with minor children if you are a former foster child who's timed out. So there's a lot of things, there's a lot of layers to this, and I didn't want to speak on it just speaking from the shooting and the victim standpoint. I like to dig. I like to get my information, because I'm not a journalist out here. I've tried to tell people, I'm not here to deliver you the news. I'm here to deliver you the truth. And the truth of the matter is, Khia Bryant should still be living. And that officer used force, rightfully. He used force, but he used deadly force when he didn't need to. I don't disagree that he had to use force. He had to use force. He had to stop her, but the way he stopped her was in no way necessary. So I'm never, ever going to say that was a justified shooting, because it wasn't a justified shooting. Shooting? Possibly. Seeing her with the knife? Maybe. But there's other ways, because we've heard about the tasers. The tasers can hit from the same distance that he shot from. You know, he could have yelled out, which would have freed the girl, because she didn't have the girl locked down. She was coming down with the knife. But if he yells at Khia before she comes down with the knife, the girl in the pink could have slipped through. Because see, what they don't want to show, or what they're not showing, the girl with the pink was already with the shits before the cops got there. You can tell if you look at the video early, before the shooting, she was already with the shits. They got footage from the neighbor's Ring camera, and you can tell she was with the bullshit early. So what Khia was doing was more or less in a retaliatory spirit. She done called the police. The women are there threatening her. She done called the police. They've been trying to get her for the last few days. This is all the stuff that I've been reading. That's why I was like, I'm not going to say nothing, because every time I want to say something on a video, I saw something else. I saw something else. Then the brother sent me the video yesterday. I saw that video, and when I hit that video, another video came up out on YouTube where it showed the neighbor's Ring camera. I mean, when you're talking about shooting someone, you're talking about possibly ending life if you hit them in the spot. But if you are a good shooter, and what I know the cop to be now, he's not only a good shooter, he is a master marksman. So when everybody's been talking about he had to do what he had to do, you're right, he did have to do what he had to do, but he didn't have to do it that way. He had to do what he had to do, but he didn't have to do it that way, especially now that I know he's not only a good shooter, he is a master marksman. So that means he basically can see a roach tap dancing from a mile away and shoot his hind leg off. Now, I'm being a little bit exaggerative, but you know what I mean. As a marksman, as an expert shooter, he should have been able to shoot her from any angle and preserve her life. But what he did do, he shot her in her upper torso, where her heart and all that is that's so vital to her, and blew that all to smithereens. Because when she was laid out on the sidewalk or the street, you can see none of her lower torso. None of her lower torso. What the fuck was that? Oh, damn, I can't do that. Her lower torso was totally untouched. It was her upper torso that had the issue. Excuse me.
Talk to you. Yeah.
Hello?
Hey, what's up, Chief?
What up? I'm in the middle of my live right now, but did you get your voicemail?
Oh, no, I didn't.
Yeah, yeah. Let me hit you back. So let me finish this live up. But just check that voicemail out real quick and see what it'll do. If he'll do it. All right, better. Thank you. Yeah. So, as a police officer, because I'm not a police officer, I know police officers, and I'm going to ask the police officers that I know. Being a marksman, having a target, such as Micaiah, where would you have shot? Would you have shot all across her upper torso? I don't care about where police are trained to shoot. He was a marksman. See, police can be trained one way, but he was a marksman from the military. He wasn't trained on the police force. He wasn't trained in Columbus. He was trained in the United States Armed Forces. So I don't know what armed forces he was trained in. Air Force, was he trained to shoot out of airplanes? Was he in the Navy? Was he trained to shoot off of boats? Was he in the military? Was he in the Army, the Marines, and trained to shoot from bunkers and shit? I don't know. But he had training that gave him the capabilities of being an expert shooter. So where he needed to shoot was in a non-life-threatening place as a trained marksman. And he didn't do that. He didn't shoot in a non-marksman or in a non-life-threatening place. He shot her all up in the torso, right around her heart. And when you got adrenaline and all that shit going, and you start shooting somebody, she was probably like a sprinkler. I saw him trying to lift their legs up to keep the blood going back because he had fucked up. If he sees her arm like this as a marksman, it's not far-fetched to believe that he couldn't have shot that knife out of her hand. She might have lost a finger or two, but he'd have shot the knife out of her hand, and now what? He shot to kill. He definitely shot to kill. That's a problem. Now, we've got a problem. Let's start out with, she started the phone call, the 911 call, said she had been threatened by two people who had been coming around there for days. Those are two former foster care kids at that same house that had no business being there. So let's talk about the foster care parents. Where they hoe asses at? They need to be brought up on charges for child endangerment and possibly now accessories to murder. Because they shouldn't have had them grown-ass women at that house threatening that child, allowing that to happen. So where the fuck are they at? Because they failed Micaiah. The foster parents failed Micaiah. I saw an interview last night that said she was Micaiah's mother, but I have a feeling that that might be Micaiah's biological mother. I don't think that's the foster mother. I think that's the biological mother. So now my question is, how you getting interviewed? Where your ass been? I keep saying that. I'm not disagreeing that. Police are trained to shoot to the chest first, head then to the chest. Okay, I don't know. So it was her biological mother. Okay, so I'm right in that assessment. It was her biological mother. She's getting interviewed right now. She's hurt. She's disgusted, and I understand. But why was Micaiah in foster care? If she was in foster care and you couldn't take care of her, how'd they find you so quickly? I got a problem with that. See, there's a lot of people that failed Micaiah way before that police officer failed Micaiah. A lot of people that play a part. I want to know about the foster parents. I want to know about that bitch made punk that kicked the girl on the ground with the girl in the pink right before Micaiah got that girl up against the car. If you look right before the shooting, there's a dude that kicks a girl on the ground with the girl in the pink. The girl in the pink then gives way. Khia comes out. That's when you see her have her up against the car. Now the cop comes out. Now he shoots. Who was that bitch-made motherfucker? Why are you out there letting women fight? He was grown, too. He wasn't young. He was grown. He needs to be brought up on charges, too. All these bitches need cases now. Because they all failed Khia. They knew the ongoings. They was there for the bullshit. Instead of being there to make a safe situation better. She was safe when she called the police. She was safe. She was safe when she was in the house. But if they outside calling, what you going to do to a 15, 16-year-old? Eventually, they going to come outside. That was the foster father egging the shit on in the fight? Bitch-ass motherfucker. The mama was getting interviewed last night. I saw her last night. She was getting interviewed. And like I said, I didn't know if that was her biological or if that was her foster. Free, if you did that, look up, and you know that that was her biological, okay, let's let that ride. She had a whole lot of braids and all that shit. The foster girl kicked that girl in the head. He sure did. He said, that's my daughter? Wow. So you was in a fight. You was in the fight, but you couldn't preserve your daughter's sanctity? You couldn't keep your daughter in the house? Now it becomes your daughter. See, my daughter wouldn't have came out the house. My daughter wouldn't have came out to fight. How is that your daughter now? My daughter won't come out. If I say, get your ass back in the house, she stays in the house. No, that was your friend. That was your buddy. You was out there trying to help her buck. That ain't no daddy. That's a friend. You her buddy. Absolutely. And we got too much of that in the collective. We got too many black men out here taking pictures. Too many black men out here filming. Too many black men out here egging it on. Too many black men out here participating in the fights. We need more black men shutting this shit down. And if we can't get it shut down, we need to excommunicate those black men. Y'all can't be over here. Y'all over there. Y'all with them. That's what I'm talking about. Dropping that dead weight. We got to drop. That's dead weight. That's dead weight for the black collective. So you see, I'm not just going to just talk about that she got shot. She absolutely was shot wrongfully. But the cop had to use force rightfully. He just used it in the wrong fashion. He used it in the wrong fashion, especially since I know he's an expert marksman from the military. You could have shot her any way you wanted to shoot her. You could have shot her anyway. But you chose to shoot her 4 times in the torso, giving her little to no chance to live. All her lower extremities you could have got. Shot her in her leg. Just shot her in her hamstring. Anything. Yeah, it was gonna hurt. It was gonna cook her. It was gonna cook. She was gonna have to heal up. I get it. But she'd still be here today. And she'd learn from her mistake. But as a marksman, I would expect better. As a former military man, I would expect better. As a police officer, I would expect better. They said he only had 17 seconds to make that decision. To make the decision of a lifetime, he only had 17 seconds. Well, as a trained marksman from the military and then on the police force, that 17 seconds, he should have been able to choose, where am I going to hit her with this shell? Where am I going to hit her? I need to know where I'm going to hit her. You should already have that in your mind. Where is the best place to hit her? Not 4 in the chest. 17 seconds is a lifetime. 17 seconds is a lifetime. Shit. If you got all that time on your hands, that is a lifetime.